Hey, Joe Zarza here for another installment or segment of Zarza Law TV. We have a special guest today. We have a lawyer from Mobile, Baldwin County area, Jason McCormick. Jason's firm is specializing in some of these business interruption cases. They do a whole slew of things, just like a lot of firms do. A lot of personal injury stuff, mainly plaintiff stuff. But they are also carving out a niche for the business interruption coverage cases. And we all along the Gulf Coast know those business interruption claims because we all have them when we have hurricanes. And when you have a hurricane, of course, everything shuts down and your business is interrupted, and you file business interruption claims. You file your claim with your house, and most of the time insurance companies don't do the right thing, of course, because that's the way they're wired. And thank goodness they're wired that way, because we wouldn't have a job otherwise. And so Jason's firm is looking into this cutting edge stuff of the COVID-related business interruption claims for businesses that have general liability policies that have business interruption clauses. Jason, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about these claims.
Sure. I'm Jason McCormick at Tobias McCormick Comer over in Mobile. And we're looking into and seeing a lot of claims that businesses are having to make. And a lot of it's coming primarily through endorsements and what have you under commercial property forms. People are submitting losses on behalf of their businesses, and they're getting turned down by the insurance companies. And what we're looking at closely are primarily business policies that have property damage provisions that contain coverages that are typically called business income or business interruption in the policies, and also provisions that are called civil authority.
So civil authority meaning, what does that mean to the average person that doesn't, is not as well versed in the policy language? What does that mean?
Sure. Probably should have started with that. So civil authority are provisions that are put into these insurance policies that trigger if you lose business, if you can't make money with your business because of an act by the government. And in the instance of COVID, the act by the governments would be quarantine obligations, businesses that just can't simply are shut down by state or municipal or federal orders that shut down businesses. So it works just like a hurricane, except for the hurricane is the governmental order saying you can't work and make money.
Okay, so how does a person know if they own a business and have an insurance policy? How do they know if they have this endorsement or this particular policy that would allow for this kind of coverage? Or should they just file a claim and see if it gets denied and then call your office? Or should they call your office and send a copy of the policy? What should they do?
Okay. So a lot of people have already filed claims and have already been denied. And in fact, I haven't seen any instances where an insurance company has said, we're going to cover you. So if you've already filed your claims, you need to get your policies reviewed by a lawyer as well as with the denial letter. If you haven't filed a claim, then at that point you do need probably to get a lawyer to assist you in putting that together and looking at it. Or if you just want to kind of get a review yourself, if you obtain a copy of your policy, and if you don't have it, the easiest way is from whoever the agent is that sold it to you. Get your policy and look through it and see if it has a provision that says civil authority, for example.
Okay. And what if it has the business income stuff or the business interruption stuff and it doesn't have a reference to the civil authority? Does that mean you don't have a case, or does that mean you may have a case still?
Good question. You usually see them hand in hand, but even if you didn't, either one of those provisions could provide coverage. If you have business income coverage that for some reason did not also include some sort of civil authority coverage, you could still end up with insurance coverage. You wouldn't have to have it both ways. There's two different ways to skin the cat, so to speak.
Right. So just from a historical perspective, just to add a little bit of context to this, if you just have a regular general liability policy, like a small business has a regular general liability policy that covers them for somebody getting hurt on their premises, they think they just bought a regular GL policy, I'll call it, CGL.
Right.
Okay. Does the typical CGL policy have any of these provisions about business interruption or business income?
Okay, so the CGL policy, the liability policy is dealing with that are claims made against the insurance companies, against the insured, and most of those policies that we're seeing, they don't have a specific disclaimer of coverage for your, for car accidents, that kind of thing that would be related or triggered by COVID. But on the liability side, some policies do and could have, for example, pandemic exclusions that would say even if you did have coverage, we're not going to provide coverage for damage to a pandemic on the liability side. Or some have virus coverages, virus exclusions. On the other side of the liability policy, most of the businesses also have commercial general property or business owner coverage. And that's where the businesses can make claims for the business losses through the business income, business interruption, civil authority provisions.
Gotcha. So, this is complicated stuff. This is not easy stuff to navigate, right?
It is very complex.
Yeah.
A lot of times you have terms in the insurance policy that the law says are defined by the policy, and there's ways that those terms are put into the policy. And then there are other terms in the policy that are not defined. So a lot of times to a layman reading an insurance policy, it's very difficult.
Right. And then on top of that, every state, if the language is not defined in the policy, and then every state may have a different definition of that language, depending on how the courts in that particular state have defined that phrase or that term.
That's exactly right. Each state law, at the end of the day, the insurance policy, if there is what is called referred to as an ambiguity, if the court decides that some language or part of an insurance policy is ambiguous, then the court goes to the law of the state that controls for that particular policy and looks at that state law for what the ambiguity should mean.
All right.
So
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. So it gets complex pretty quickly.
So what cases are y'all looking for folks that are in Baldwin County, Alabama, Mobile County, Alabama? What other counties in Alabama are y'all servicing your particular firm?
We are primarily, our practice is primarily in Mobile and Baldwin counties. That's where we have been for a long time, and that's what we do. These cases are probably, a lot of them are probably going to end up in federal court, which a lot of times handles these sort of coverage issues. But that's where we practice. That's our home base, so to speak. That's what we do.
Okay. All right. Very good, Jason. Tell us a little bit about the other lawyers in your firm and just what y'all generally do in the Mobile, Baldwin County area, aside from this COVID business interruption stuff.
Sure. So there's three of us. Desi's our senior partner, and then Brian Comer is the other partner with me. And between the three of us, we've got 65 plus years of experience. Desi alone has tried over 100 jury trials. We represent people that are hurt and do a lot of the same stuff that you do in Florida. We do that in Mobile. And we don't represent insurance companies. We don't do criminal work. We're a firm that's trying to help people in our community.
Very good. Well, you're doing that, especially with this COVID thing. We appreciate that. I suspect there's no charge for this, right? If somebody calls you up and they have a business policy, right, they can give you an opinion on whether or not it's something they need to look into free of charge.
100% free of charge. That's totally fine. Yeah.
And then if they end up retaining you, or you think they have a case, how does that work? They don't have to pay anything then unless you win too, right?
No, it's the standard. We operate 100% on contingency fees. It's the same thing that everybody always says or always hears, and I think most people understand. We don't get paid unless we win. So in the instance of a business interruption claim, we put the sweat equity and the effort into the case and build the case. And if we won, then we would recover a fee for us. But if we lose, we don't come knocking on your door asking for the losses.
Well, see, a lot of business owners are not used to that. A lot of business owners are used to paying by the hour, right? Because they have a business lawyer probably that's advising them about business things. And so they're not used to dealing with lawyers that don't take money from them. I'm not saying anything bad about the lawyers that work by the hour, but I'm just saying it's a different breed to get into something that may involve litigation. And so the lawyers that specialize in litigation cases are the ones that typically are doing the contingency fee arrangements. I just want the businesses to be aware that you really don't have a lot to lose by looking into this. If you have a policy and you want to make sure to see whether or not you can have a chance at getting a recovery under your policy, then you should reach out to Jason and his firm.
Yeah, we're more into the winning business than the billing business.
Yes.
I think that would be the deal.
I like the way that sounds. All right, Jason, we appreciate it very much. We're going to put the link to your firm's website underneath here. If you have questions for Jason, you can obviously directly contact Jason at the link below. You can also reach out to us if you have any questions about other cases, or you want to get in touch with Jason and you want to go through us for some reason. You're happy to do that. Or if you have questions about this video or some other videos, you can find us on the web at zarzurlaw.com, or you can call us the old-fashioned way at 855-HIRE-JOE. Thank you, Jason. Thank y'all for watching.
Thank you, Joe.
Yes, sir.